Hello.
Hi, Suzy.
Hi, Catherine. Thank you so much for joining us today. Before we get started, can you just take a moment and tell us a little bit about you? Give us an introduction.
Yes, hi, good morning. My name is Catherine Maskell, and I am the founder of a marketing agency called TPD Marketing. And that stands for Thinking, Planning, Doing Marketing. And it's been
Oh,
live now for, wow, coming up to 9 months. So I'm definitely a newbie.
I love that. I mean, I'm all about the thinking, planning, and doing. I love that, and I think I'm really excited that you agreed to speak to me today because there's so many different angles and width and breadth to your experience because you've obviously just in the startup business birth phase, which is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Lockdown business, but you've got a wonderful history as well because Catherine and I know each other. We've known each other for said period of time. I don't know how many years, but
Must be close to nearly 10, 11 years, I think.
oh, that's scary. But yeah, we worked together at Reed Specialist Recruitment, didn't we? So
Yes.
where you were, I'm going to get your job role wrong, but what?
Yes, I was the global head of marketing. So I looked after, at the time, I looked after the UK, and I also looked after the rest of the world, so the other offices. I think at one point somebody described me as the person in charge of 50 specialisms and 12 countries, which sounds very, very grand. Yeah, it wasn't anywhere near as grand and as glamorous as that makes it sound. It's just a lot of
Wow.
early mornings, late nights.
Which is kind of like running a business,
Which
right?
is very, very much like running a business.
Oh, well, we're gonna jump around in time today because, and actually, while we're in the past, we might as well talk about the past. So, where were you last year? What was your life and your professional life, your personal life? What was Catherine Maskell a year ago?
Wow. Well, do you know what? My life really could not now be more different, quite literally. So this time last year, I was leaving the Content Marketing Association. I was leaving there. I had ran that for nearly 3 years, should we say, for the purposes. And I was leaving there. I'd taken that business from when I started, they had 25 members. And when I left, they had just shy of 125.
Wow.
And that is because I'd gone through quite a process of changing the membership format and actually, ironically, now looking at ways of bringing in new businesses and new startups, because within the marketing field, that's really where you can get a lot of new innovation and come through and different ideas from people who have been in a business for a long time. So it was a real way of getting new, fresh blood and energy into the
Mm.
marketing sphere.
Phenomenal, phenomenal. And that's kind of like because you were MD of the Content Marketing Association,
Yes,
weren't you?
of
Which
course,
is,
yeah.
I mean, it has to be the job to have when you're in marketing, right? I mean, that's like, here's a late.
Do you know what? I absolutely loved that job. I really did. It was a great job. You got to meet so many different people, interact with so many different brands, and that it also was international as well. So you would really see how different parts of the world use their marketing and how the Nordic region, for instance. I always advise people, look at that, because they really are risk takers, actually,
Mm,
and they do some phenomenal work. And you just don't really see that. And I think, as a country, sometimes we can be quite insular, but actually when you get the opportunity to look outside, and see what different people are doing, and just also the ways and means that they're doing it. I think a lot of
yeah,
people get pigeonholed into thinking of just digital, but digital is just part of the mix. It's not the entire mix.
absolutely. And obviously, you know this a lot better than I do, but in such a remote, isolated digital world, I think there's even more value to be had in some other different shall we say, more traditional marketing mediums?
Absolutely, absolutely. And you know, people think that the journey starts and ends either on Facebook or on LinkedIn or any other social channel. And it really doesn't. You know, social forms are part of your communications.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can get your end-to-end communications sorted, that's where you will really start to make a difference and drive value through your marketing back to your business.
Absolutely. And you know, you mentioned risk there as well, so I'm going to kind of plug on that and ask you to expand on where you are now, because obviously a lot's changed.
Yes.
And you've taken a big risk.
Yes, I have.
Some would
Yes.
say,
Yes.
in starting your own thing. So where are you now? What's kind of, so we've gone
So,
from MD, Content Marketing Association, and now where are you now with your own business?
yeah, so now I've really gone on, as I say, through quite a journey over these relatively short months,
Mm-hmm.
actually, really, in the grand scheme of things. And it's been so illuminating, because working now with small businesses is completely different. You know, I set up TPD because I've been talking about it for so long, actually, and I had a website already built, which I've changed, obviously, but I had that in the back of my mind for so long. When I used to commute to London every day, now I just commute to my study. You know, that's literally as far as I go, and so, you know, having gone from this sort of larger than life role effectively and commuting to London, I'm now running a small business working with a very diverse section of industries and business owners, and getting them to understand the thinking, planning, doing part of marketing and how it actually integrates within their business. Because I think a lot of people, as I say, they just focus on one element. And you know, one of the things, and I've been guilty of it in the past when I've been a marketeer, you know, everybody gets very campaign led, instead of always thinking of an always on approach. And that's really been my mantra since starting TPD, which is to really get people thinking about what it is that they want to achieve in the long term. Because marketing actually is not just for Christmas, you know. it is a long-term game changer. And those people that commit to that, like, you know, somebody like yourself, Suzy, whose marketing is fantastic.
No, thank you.
That's because, you know,
Pay later.
well, you're committed to it and you're consistent and your message is strong, and that's, you know, it absolutely pays dividends.
Oh, thank you. Well, yeah, I mean, in a past life, I used to work in a very small marketing team, and I've always had an interest in marketing. But you're right, it's that consistency, isn't it? And I think a lot of people think. I think sometimes marketing is a difficult perception thing. A lot of people have different, perhaps not fair perceptions of what marketing is. And I think back to my time in a marketing team. My manager always used to say, like, marketing's not actually as like glamorous and sexy as everybody thinks. It's like, it's quite data driven. It's quite and again, you don't turn it on. You don't turn it on. And I think I've heard you say this before. It's not a tap and then all of a sudden you get loads of leads. Like, it's not that. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah, somebody said to me, actually, which really made me laugh. They were like, you know, we don't want to launch our website yet because, you know, we can't deal with the influx of inquiries. And I was like, don't worry, you're complete. The world is not waiting for you to turn on. Like, it's you know, it's a bit like, I think you're fine. I think you've got a couple of months, if not more, to sort of just to build nicely. So, you know, calm yourself and just go for it.
Oh, I can see that on a little quote tile. Calm yourself and just go for it. I love that. And again, all these things take time because it's relationships again, isn't it? It's just,
it is. And some of those relationships start and end online. You know, that is, you know, that is the role that plays. And a lot of people, again, they just forget about that relationship can start with your LinkedIn profile. You know, if you're an e-commerce site, and then end on your site. But people have a high expectation of communication and, you know, how things are delivered. You know, Amazon has done us a great favor in you know, giving us deliveries 24 hours a day and have access to absolutely everything. And the consumer's thought process is that everybody is operating on that same level.
Yeah.
And they're not. You know, Amazon are a huge multinational business, but that level of expectation is such that, well, that's the service. So what do you mean I'm not getting it for another like 2 or 3 days or a week?
It's really interesting, because I think when you say that, I'm thinking of, it is like the always on mentality, isn't it? And I think email, obviously, you know, I could talk for hours about email, but it's that mentality again, isn't it? It's like, oh, well, I've sent the email, you must have read it. It's like, well, and I saw something, I think it was probably on LinkedIn recently, that really resonated with me, with this kind of always on and expectations. And again, even more so when you think of everything that we've gone through with the working from home, global lockdown kind of COVID thing. I guess you've heard about that. And this thing that really resonated with me was like, your phone is there for your convenience, not other people's.
Yes.
And I was like, yes, I like that.
Yes.
I like that. Anyway, I'm digressing a little bit. You know, I love a tangent. Okay, so we've gone back. Where are you now? So we are now, I'm going to invite you to like, just go. There's no limits here. Where are you going to be? What's the vision for you and the business over the next year? So if we come back together and we talk and have this conversation in a year's time, where's your business going to be? Where's your life going to be? What's your aspirations? I mean, don't give away any commercial secrets here, but just like inspire us.
Yeah. So I've been thinking about this because I am no surprise, data and goal driven sort of individual. You know, I have to do my stats, even do my weekly, my yearly stats and things like that. So over the next year, I want to double my business without a shadow of a doubt. I would like to have somebody working for me also as well, because I have, you know, and being a self-starter, you realize also some of your shortcomings in life. And I am an extreme E, if you look at Myers-Briggs. So my need to get out and do and communicate and interact with the world sometimes also then hinders me, because I actually have to do things. So I get a little bit overexcited. So I would at some point I would like to you know, I would like somebody to help me do some of the doing that I go off and kind of get. But I also feel really strongly actually about having almost like a consortium of people around me actually who I can call upon and have a, you know, so whilst it would be nice to have a huge agency, you know, and all that would bring, actually what I really value is having a strong network of specialists around me who can support me and I can work on different projects with, because that's really what I enjoy most. Is working with people and really getting that interaction with people. I would love to have an office space, and that's, you know, as nice as it is just to sort of go to the end of the, you know, walk out of the bedroom and then turn right. I am, as I say, I am more of an outdoor meet and greet type person. So when we are able to do that, then to be able to have an office space of some sort, even if it's flexible, it doesn't really matter. But that would be a goal for me, because that would make, for my headspace, that would make a great deal of difference.
Oh, I love that. And I mean, I should have been making notes then, because there's lots that I wanted to expand on there. But firstly, how's the whole lockdown experience been for a very strong extrovert?
Well,
like, how have you adjusted?
Well, to be honest with you, this was one of the reasons why I started this business, because I thought I need a focus. You know, I need to have something that's going to get me up and drive me forward. And you know, I sort of sat in my living room and I thought, right, do it, come on. And that's me, you know, that is, I am that person that runs towards things. And so I thought, I am literally just going to start. You know, the sooner, there's no point in procrastinating about it. I need to do this for my headspace, and I need to do this also for my financial benefit. So, right, let's get on with it. Let's start it, and away we go. So that was the first thing that I needed to do. Second thing was getting my own exercise plan in order. So, you know, I take full advantage of going out for a walk. I will walk in all weathers. I don't care if I need to go out for a walk, then I need to go out for a walk, you know. That can be a bit of a game changer for me, and really sort of bring me down if I've not left the building, as they say. And I have to say, you know, online networking has been a huge game changer for me. You know, you introduced me to BNI, and it's been absolutely amazing, because I've spent a lot of my career commuting, and so I didn't have a strong network as to where I live. So that was really, really important. And at the end of last year, I looked back and I thought, actually, do you know what? I've probably met 30 plus new people this year. You know, I'm a 50-year-old woman. Like, when was the last time I added that many people to my group?
Yeah.
You know, to a group of people who actually I know that I could ring and say, oh, you do this, could you help me, etc., and have a laugh with, you know, go on socials with, and things like that. Like, that's been huge.
Yeah.
So,
Oh,
you know, using the online networking, and then also then getting introduced to other networking groups too. And there's another one that I attend, Net for Biz, and that's another great group of people who are incredibly supportive and open to helping you do and achieve your business, which is amazing.
oh, man, what, I mean, hats off to you. I love that, because I bang on about this quite a lot. You can always see chaos or opportunity, right? And, you know, you could have easily just let everything bog you down, wash over you, and just be miserable at home. But you're like, no, gonna get on, going to get on and do it. Gonna go. It's like, you know, the website story you shared. Like, don't wait, just get on, just
Yeah.
get on with it. And I love that. And you're right. I think I'm an introvert. I'm a massive introvert. But actually, I think I've been more sociable since we've been in this pandemic, because I can join a social with friends in my pajamas at short notice, and I haven't got to commute and XYZ. And I think I've definitely felt a lot more sociable. But also, I think I feel, whilst we are so remote, I definitely feel more connected to people. I think it's a strange, like, paradox, I guess, isn't it? It's like, I think I've probably overcompensated with checking in with people, and, you know, finding ways and opportunities just to connect in different ways, I guess. Whereas there's a lot of things, well, I think pre-COVID, there's a lot that we all took for granted, wasn't there? So
very much so. And you know, you really appreciate as well those people who reach out, don't you? And that's the other thing, you appreciate those people that reach out. And that's part of what I've learned over this amount of time, is, you know, is also to try and do more of that. You know, because you've got to keep yourself sane, and also other people sane.
Absolutely. I think I'll misquote it, but there's a Simon Sinek quote about, like, leadership that's all about, oh, I'll have to look it up because I can't remember what it is. But the principle of it is, it's about looking after people. That's what being a leader is. And that's what I feel being in business is all about. You know, most people start businesses because they want to make a difference. They want to help people in the way that's unique to them. And that's what it's about. You kind of want to support and help people. And I'm just jumping back to your kind of office space, because I think that it would be good to talk about that some more, because obviously Alchemy's a home-based business. I chose to work from home. I love it. we probably do need to sort out an office, a more formal office at some point, but I think it's important in that separation, isn't it? So is that what you were talking about, that kind of getting out, having a space? Is that something that helps you?
Definitely. And at the start, when I first started it, I was doing a lot of work actually in the living room, but then that meant that I wasn't really spending the time in the evening in the living room.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's really when I sort of thought, right, I've really got to get my study in order. And it still needs, more reorganizing, to be honest with you, but it's a good place. And during the weekend, it's very cathartic to close that study door and keep your laptop in there and just go, I'm not going to look at you. I could look at you, but I'm not. I'm not going to give myself a couple of hours not looking at you because I'm a bit over you and I've spent too much time with you.
Oh, you're so right, though. You're so right. I think it's so important to have a kind of designated workspace in any capacity, but it's about finding what works for you, isn't it? Yeah. I before Paul joined the business, I was quite fluid. I had a nook in our bedroom. We had like kitchen table, coffee table. I used to do a lot of co-working spaces. I was quite happy just flitting around doing my thing. Used to go and work from client sites. We used to get around quite a bit. And Paul was like, no, if I'm doing this, if I'm coming in with you on this business, we're getting a proper office. And I was like, do we need to? And it was like, I want an executive chair. I want so we kicked our son out of his playroom, and that's we've got a proper home office now. And actually he was right, because I am always on. That's who I am. But there is something quite nice about on a Friday shutting the door, leaving my phone in my desk. That never happens. That's the ambition. And laptop off. It's so important, isn't it?
And I actually, and one of the things that I realized is that always on approach is a strength of mine. Mm-hmm. As much as I've realized sort of other strengths and weaknesses, the always on, and actually having the flexibility to be available to people, because if you are working with small businesses, then they work when you're working, and so sometimes it's great to get them at a downtime moment when they really want to explore things. And so that for me as well has worked in my favor, because I'm like, I enjoy that level of flexibility. And when I was always working, the core hours were like 9 to 5, I was potentially a little bit stifled. I think that's one of the reasons why I was never very good at school, because I was always a bit like could I just go off for half an hour and just do something different, and then when I come back I'll be far better. But so now having this sort of flexibility, that definitely improves things for me, and I think allows me to give a better service.
Oh, you're right. And I love that. And I think I love your awareness, your self-awareness as well, because I think I've always seen my self-awareness as a bit of a flaw, if you like. But I think when you do work from home, when you do run a business, you need to be aware of your needs and how you are. And that was one of the most liberating things when I started my business. I was like, I'm going to go for a nap because I'm a bit tired. And I can, and I did. And again, being able to work with yourself in those peak times of creativity or productivity. Like I'm a morning person. If I've got something that needs a lot of brain focus, I'll get up at 6 a.m. and I'll get it done. Whereas back in 9 to 5 corporate life, I couldn't do that. And I think that's one of the highlights or the silver linings to this whole pandemic, is that I think everybody's had to shift to a much more flexible way. And I hope that businesses, companies, people are more focused on well-being and outputs as opposed to actually what time you're at your desk.
I agree. I completely agree, because I think everybody experiences it. Everybody at certain points has brain fog. Of course they do. We're all human. But I think for me, like my self-awareness, I know when that is kicking in. I'm like, right, trainers on, go.
Get out, go.
Get out. And I did it before we spoke. I was like, right, I've got a solid half an hour. I'm going to go round the block, you know, get some fresh air, get some things in my lungs.
Yeah.
Think about what it is that I'm going to say. And I'm like, bam, right. Here we are. Yeah. And then you feel better and you're like, I'm energized. I'm loving this. You know,
absolutely.
For me, this will keep my energy levels going all day. I'll be like, bah, bah, bah. I'll get my swagger on. I'll be like,
yeah. Absolutely. For those of you who are listening, not watching, you're missing out right now because there's like energetic typing and stuff going on. But it's so important, isn't it? It's so important because I was going to say, you probably noticed I'm getting a little bit fidgety now because I think I can sit comfortably and focus for about 45 minutes. That's about it. Then I have to get up and like stretch or move, or I can't. I really struggle to sit still for a long period of time. Always have. But then I think, actually, are humans designed to sit at a desk for like 8 hours a day? Some people, maybe that's how they roll. That's cool. There's no right or wrong. But I just think the whole 9 to 5 thing's a bit rubbish.
Yeah. I think you're right. I think if you hold people accountable and just be really focused with people and honest and upfront, then if everybody knows what it is that they're doing,
yeah,
it just makes a huge difference. That's what I always say, like thinking, planning, doing is really are the stages that you are always in if you're in marketing, or you're thinking about your marketing or moving on to a next phase. And actually knowing where you're going, what you're going to say, how you're going to say it, weeks and months, even in advance, just makes a massive difference, because you can then tweak it. But it's really hard to tweak something that doesn't exist. And that's that for me is the key. It's like, a plan is great, but you can deviate from a plan. That's, for me, like you say, like 9 to 5, 9 to 6, 9 to 4, 3, whatever. It's like you can deviate from that, because you know what it is that you're doing, how you're going to achieve it, and what's happening next week.
Absolutely. And I think from a marketing perspective, I know as a business, obviously we've changed focus, make sure we're being sensitive with our messaging and appropriate. And how do you think the pandemic has I mean, God, I don't want to focus on the pandemic too much, but from your perspective, how do you think it's impacted in marketing in your clients? Is there anything like significant that you've seen, or any themes that you've identified that you thought were interesting?
Yeah, I mean, I think at the start it was interesting as to how many clients really thought not doing anything was the right idea, because people thought that would be, that this would all be over in months, not in years, which I think unfortunately could be the case. And I would reiterate to them then, if you go dark on your audience, it goes back to what I said before. Nobody's waiting for you to talk to them, because there's so many other things that are vying for our attention. So if you lose that attention, then people aren't going to care that you've gone away. And that's it takes a long time for you to build up an audience. It takes even longer time for your audience to trust you and return to you. Don't throw that away now.
Yeah.
Don't throw that away. And so that was one thing. And then secondly, I think on the flip side, other people sort of went too far, and it was a bit like, I just need to talk to everybody every minute of the day. It's like, you don't need to bombard them either. You don't interrupt people's lives for no good reason.
I love that.
Have a reason, have a purpose, and continue on that, and be consistent. And if you want to send out a heartfelt message, then do that. If you want to continue to communicate things that you are selling, or things that you're producing, or just even updating people on your business to remind them that you're still there and functioning, because that was also a risk really as
Mm-hmm.
the pandemic went on. Because unfortunately a lot of businesses, they were really suffering. So it's about finding that maintenance level, and not getting too caught up in the moment. Think about who you are, what your brand values are, what your purpose is, and how you fit into what is happening in the world. Sometimes you do fit in extremely well. Other times it's not your time to shine. So have the decency to sort of let others shine, and you can maintain your conversation in the role that you've previously played. And I think that's where those brands who know what it is that they're talking about and who they are, it's almost like, we talked about self-awareness, and this is really brand awareness, as in knowing and defining who you are too, because that's, a lot of brands don't really know that. They're just like, well, we sell stuff. It's like, well, what makes you sell stuff? That's at the heart of your business. What's your mission? What's your mission statement?
Oh, see, I love all of that stuff. I love all of that. And I know, I noticed that as well. I think a lot of people, particularly on LinkedIn, because, I spend half my life on LinkedIn, it was this kind of like radio silence or like panicked grabbiness that was going on for a while, wasn't it? And I was just like, and I must admit, I think I sat into the silence category for a short period, because I was like, oh, okay, there's a lot of noise here. There's a lot going on. So I kind of had to sit in this little, let's process. And then again, let's just connect, let's realign. What are we? And I remember it was someone that I used to work with. I think I put a LinkedIn post. This was like early pandemic days. And I was like, I feel a bit awkward, like promoting myself right now. So I started like shouting out to some of my business buddies and was like, oh, this is so-and-so, they can do this, and blah, blah, blah. And it was someone that I used to work with, kind of called me out on it and was like, you should absolutely be promoting yourself right now. People need good news. Like, you're smashing it, carry on smashing it. And I was like, okay. But again, it's like, you can't read the room. You can't read the LinkedIn room, can you? You've just got to kind of, you kind of got to, again, tune into who you are, what you're about, what your mission is, and be brave and put it out there, right?
Yeah. And do you know what? Reading the room is a real good one, because it is harder now. That is a challenge, because there's just, there's not the physical footfall anywhere, and so, that makes it really hard, because you're not even seeing what people are wearing, the colors that they're wearing, all of those different sensory points that you just pick up on as individuals, then they're not there, they're not here right now, and that therefore you're a bit like, oh, where am I going now for my inspiration? What am I looking at now for my inspiration? And I mean, I saw something alarming the other day, only because it was one of those realizations of like, oh, flipping heck, that's right. It's like, when you look back over this period of time, fingers crossed, we won't have another period of time like this. So that means actually that the data that you collected this year, if you're looking 2 years on and you're looking your year on year and how you've grown over 2 years, you're a bit like, maybe we just, we look at those 12 months and go, right, we have to validate them in a slightly different way, so it's almost like having a blip in your own data, which is terrifying and fascinating.
Absolutely. But again, I think I hope this is it's quite exciting, really, if you think this is a once in a lifetime, I hope, type situation. We're kind of living through history in a real obvious way, but again, everybody has blips in data, don't they, for various different reasons, but it's nice that there's a collective reason for it, I guess. But anyway, Catherine, I'm sorry, because I definitely could talk to you all day if you let me, and it's been really, really great. But before we kind of wrap this up, can we have a little dream, a little prediction? If I'm to buy a newspaper this time next year, I'm physically going to the shop, hopefully not wearing a mask and hugging everybody on the way. And what's going to be on the headlines? What's going to be like the main page? Now, there are, again, no rules here. This can be you specific, world specific, not specific at all. It could be something funny. Like, what would you like to see on the headlines next year? Catherine,
I would
woman
like
to Mars, or
I would like to see, actually, on the headlines, I would like to see that a good news story about small businesses across the UK and how they are the lifeblood of an economy, because I think they absolutely are. I think they don't get enough, actually, credence. I think everybody gets very caught up in talking about the big nationals and then the big guys, but actually, you know, what I've really learned is that the small businesses are absolutely keeping this country going. And I just don't think local people especially, know about that enough, actually. And I would really, really value that headline to start to celebrate the different businesses that are out there, people like yourself, Suzy, you know, the virtual PAs, you know, I think the trades teams, and just the trade sector, they absolutely keep this country moving. And people, not in a horrible way, but they're, to a certain extent, they're taken for granted. And they are absolutely the lifeblood of what keeps us all ticking over. And I don't think that is talked about enough, actually, on the news headlines. So that's what
I love that. I got goosebumps when you were saying it a little bit, and I think we should just mock up a newspaper with that anyway. But
I know
you are absolutely right. There is nothing small about small businesses.
There is nothing small about small businesses.
There nothing.
Really, and they're brave and risk takers. And without that, we don't get ourselves out of anything.
Absolutely. Oh, that's a nice kind of empowering end. So, before we sign off, how can people reach you? How's best for people to get in touch with you? I'll obviously put your website and stuff around. But
I mean, connect with me on LinkedIn, Catherine Maskell, TPD Marketing founder of. We're very proud. Connect with me there, or connect with me directly via my website.
Amazing. Thank you so much for your time. And I mean, maybe we'll come together next year and do a little refresh on this. What do you think?
I hope so. When the newspaper goes live.
When the newspaper goes live, why not? Catherine, thank you so much. We'll catch up with you soon.
Thank you, Suzy.